Hey class, in this video I'm just going to go over 5 problems. They're a lot like what we did on the meet on Tuesday, the live meet. If you weren't at that meet, this will be really helpful to you because it's really similar to what we worked on, and even if you were there, this will give you kind of some more example problems to see how exactly we solve these kinds of problems when we're missing the measure of a particular angle. So I would definitely watch this video either way. Okay, so I'm going to go over the first 5 problems. So number 1, it just asks us, what is the measure of angle ABC? And before I start the problem, I'm going to just circle or box, well, circle the numbers, box the keywords, right? And one keyword, or not word I guess, but key letters is this ABC, because that tells us what angle we're actually measuring. Okay, so anytime you see something like this, I would go ahead and outline it on your actual paper. So I would draw a line from A to B, then from B to C, just showing that this is what we're measuring. Okay, and if you aren't able to print this paper out, that's not a big deal at all, because you don't actually need a protractor, so you can just draw these problems on your own paper. You don't have to actually write the stuff up here, but you can draw the angles and work it out with us, okay, labeling, you know, what each part measures. Okay, so we're already given some information here, right? We know that this part right here is 10 and this part right here is 20. So if we want to figure out what the whole thing is, what operation will we use? I'll pause and let y'all think about that. I would use addition, because we're seeing that we need to add together this part and this part to get a bigger angle that is the combined result of those two smaller angles, right? So I would just do 20 plus 10, and that's going to give us 30 degrees, and then we can match and we get B. Okay, want to go over some process elimination strategies, right? Because even if you didn't know you were adding here, you do know that you have 10 and 20, and that, you know, put together, it's not going to be 400, it's not going to be 200, right? Because think, if you have a flat line like this, that's 180. And this is definitely less wide than that is, right? So it has to be less than 180. So right away you can eliminate C and D and then just be left with these two. Okay, let's look at number 2. It says angle DEG is a right angle. Angle DEF measures 130 degrees. What is the measure of angle GEF? Okay, we have a little bit more complicated problem, so we're needing to break this down. So first of all, DEG is one angle, and what's it saying about that? It's saying it's a right angle. What do we know about right angles? Well, we know that they are 90 degrees, so anytime you see a right angle and you're dealing with degrees, I would go ahead and write 90 right above it, okay? And then it says angle DEF measures 130, and then it's asking you, what is the measure, and this is the question, so I'm going to underline it, what is the measure of angle GEF? Okay, now what we want to do is we want to take all this information we just identified and we want to put it down here. So the first thing it tells us is DEG is a right angle. Well, let's find DEG. So we have DEG, it's that right there. So to symbolize that that's a right angle, I would go ahead and put the square there, and then I would label it 90 degrees. Okay, what else do we know? It says angle DEF measures 130. So we find DEF, and the way you can symbolize that I'm saying this whole thing is worth 130 is you can draw a big line through G, because it's talking about this whole thing, and below that line we can put 130. Okay, and then it's asking what is the measure of angle GEF, which is from here to here to here, and you already see, I drew a line through it, but you already see the question mark there. Okay, so how do we figure this out? If we know what this whole thing is in degrees, and we know what this section is, how can we find what's left over? Well, you can subtract to see what's left, right? So the whole thing's 130, so I start with that, and then I get rid of the part that I'm not measuring, which is the 90-degree right angle. So I'm going to subtract that here. Okay, 0 minus 0 is 0. For this one, we can't take 9 from 3, so we have to borrow. We add 10 to the tens place. 13 minus 9 is 40, and then 0. Remember, you can put a 0 here as long as it's to the left of the number. It doesn't change anything. 0 minus 0 is 0. Now we match, and we see that 40 is our answer. Okay. Now things are going to start maybe repeating a little bit, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. It asks, what is the measure of angle XYZ? So we're looking for XYZ. I'm going to identify where that is, and we realize that it's this whole thing, right? And it's telling us what this section is worth, and it's telling us what this section is worth. So just like in number 1, we're going to have to use addition. So I do 140 degrees plus 20. I do my math, and we get 4 plus 2 is 6. 1 plus 0 is 1. We get 160 degrees. We match and get D. Okay. Number 4. What is the measure of the mystery angle below? Okay, so we have our chart here, and we see that we're looking just for this little section, right? Now this is very similar to number 2. We have the degrees of the whole largest angle, right? We know that this whole thing is 50. We know that this little section is 15. We need to know what is left over. So same steps. We're going to do 50 minus 15. Here we have to borrow. We borrow 1 from the tens place and add 10 to the ones place. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 1 is 3. So we're left with 35 degrees. We match for A. Okay, this one is the first one that's a little bit different. So let's read this carefully. It says the right angle below is split into 2 equal angles. What is the measure of each smaller angle? Okay, there were some key words, right? We have right angle. What should I write next to right angle? Give you all a minute to think of it on your own. Right next to right angle, we should write 90 degrees, right? Let's get in that habit of always doing 90 degrees. Okay, and then it says is split into 2 equal angles. Wow, this is full of key words. We have split into 2 equal angles. First of all, I have a number here. It's 2, but it's in word form, so remember you should write it in number form below. And what does it mean to split something into 2 equal parts? What operation is that when you split things into equal parts? Division. Because splitting things into parts is division. Multiplication would be to give multiple of the same amount, right? So it's going in the opposite direction. And that says what is the measure of each smaller angle? And when you split things, you get smaller amounts, right? Remember, when you subtract, you get smaller amounts, and when you divide, you get smaller amounts. So it's asking, what is the measure of these 2 areas? Well, remember, up here we figured out that this whole thing is 90. Now you're splitting it by 2. So what you're doing is you're dividing 90 by 2. Okay, I want you all to go ahead and pause and work this out on your own. Okay, I'm going to assume you're unpaused, and if you didn't know how to do the division, that's okay. We're going to go through it again, and this might be something you want to write on your own page so you have it for the future, because we're going to do more division when working at home. Remember, the first step to division is to divide. What do you do second? What do you do second? You multiply. What do you do third? You subtract, and then fourth, you bring the next number down. If this seems confusing, I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide just the number 9 by 2. So what times 2 gets you as close as possible to 9 without going over? Well, 2 times 4 is 8, right? So I can say that 2 goes into 9 4 times. So that was my division step. Okay, now I'm going to do 4 times 2 is 8. That's my multiplication step. Okay, now I subtract 9 minus 8, which gives me 1. That was my subtraction step. And then I have to bring down the next number, which is the 0. So it's 0 here, so that's my bring down step. But remember, even after you do every step once, then you go back to that first step. As long as you just brought another number down, you have to start over. Okay, so now I'm dividing 10 by 2. Well, I know 2 times 5 is 10, right? So I'm going to put 5 here. That's my division. 5 times 2 is 10. That's my multiplication. 10 minus 10 is 0. That's my subtraction. And then there's no more numbers to bring down, right? So I can't put a check mark here, but there's nothing else to bring down. So that means I'm done. That means whatever here is my remainder, but if it's a 0, it means I just have no remainder. So my final answer is 45 degrees. So I match and I get D. Okay, what I'd like you all to do, and this will be in the PDF, so you don't have to pause this video and try to copy it or anything like that. You can just open the file, and in that PDF, I believe that this is number 2, or I'm sorry, page 2. I'll double check that. I'll make a correction in the video, but I'm almost sure this is page 2. It has number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And here I'm checking. Yeah, it is. It is page 2. So you can definitely just turn to that page. And I'd like you to work on these 5 problems on your own, okay? So this is today's assignment. Tomorrow I'm going to give you an iExcel assignment, and I'm going to go over these problems. So that'll be a different video where I'm going over these problems, but what I want you to do is I want you to do them on your own today so that tomorrow you have those answers and you can check your work, okay? Alright guys, keep it up. Y'all are doing awesome work, okay? Remember, if you have any questions, you can message me on Dojo or you can message me on my phone. Alright, see you next time. Thanks guys.